This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Today we are going to discuss a very important topic. We're talking money matters today, and I'm sure that resonates with you, no matter who you are, rich, poor, young, old, middle-aged. In today's economy, very difficult economy and very difficult circumstances we found ourselves. So the least you can do is to key into conversation that has to do with how you manage your resources. Today you'll be sharper, I can tell you, with David OYAKILOME and Komomo Mimi KACHIKWU.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Let's start. Mimi, your profile really is of interest to me. You are still in banking. How did you choose banking, or banking chose you?
Oh, banking chose me, or more like money chose me.
Oh, money chose you. Okay. So how did you stumble onto banking? Or it was a deliberate attempt?
As a young person, having been done with NYSC, I started to ask myself where I wanted to play. Then there were three viable industries. Either it was oil, or it was banking, and telecoms. So I actually did use service with a telecoms company, RainbowNet, back in Abakaliki.
Okay. What is money? Let's even, for the sake of it, because people say money, they say capital. But what is money? Just for the layman out there.
For the layman out there, money is, it means an exchange. Money is, it's a promissory note. Okay. With what you used to hold, value, as the case may be, yes.
That's what it is, because it's important that we explain what money is, because a lot of people relate with money differently. People don't understand how much of a treasure it is, and if it is a means of exchange and value, then it is very important that we understand it. So is it the same thing as capital?
No, it's not.
Okay, so capital.
As a matter of fact, money is a type of capital.
Is a what?
It's a type of capital.
It's a type of capital.
Yes.
Okay. How difficult has this economy been? And I'm saying the last, because we'll come back to money, but how difficult has it been in the last 12 months, so to say?
Yes, Dr. Ken, you touched the the matter where it is actually.
Yes.
For the times we are in compared to where we are coming from in 1 year, we are looking at a time where you talk about the price of fuel. A year ago, it was 238 naira, thereabout. Now we're looking at 710. That's if you're with the public, not the likes of NNPC or AP. They're at 610 naira today. You look at money itself, you look at dollar rate. We used to have 400 and something for a dollar, but now we are running on 1,500 for a dollar today.
Yeah, that's 3 times almost.
3 times what it used to be a year ago. You look at food inflation today, it's gone from 24% to about 40%. You look at inflation itself from 22% to 33%. You look at interest rate within a year has gone from 18% to 26.5%. What of lending rates? What of our general GDP growth rates? So really, you look at the price of diesel also. Diesel has also shot up within a year from 844 naira to 1,480 naira today as we speak. So when you say how has it been, of course we know it hasn't been a play in the park. It's not. That's why I said I'm not going to come here today to begin to talk about investments from a lofty angle or from the angle of you need to go and buy property in Banana Island. That would be like me not being realistic with the times we are living in. We have to look at investment today from the angle that even feeding well,
just survival.
Exactly, is you investing in yourself. Looking good is you investing in yourself today. And even smelling good, brushing well, it's you investing in yourself today. And also taking care of the people around you in small ways. It's investment.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Well, let's look at investment today from a small place, from what you can do every day gradually.
The basic things of life.
Let's look at when you look at your child. At the same time, I'm not going to say to you that because things are hard, you spend everything you earn now. Because the future is going to come, whether we like it or not. So you have to look in the eyes of your child. The same way that when you earn every day, you think of putting 10% aside for church, you need to think of putting 10% in a trust fund for your child.
People will argue that you have to have the money before you can decide to put a percentage aside. So you can imagine the predicament when you don't even have it, or what you have cannot even meet your basic needs. So, and that brings me to the difference between money really and wealth. You know, so what is money and then what is wealth?
Okay.
Just so that people understand.
Okay. I'm going to speak on money matter, really. One of the mistakes that people make when they start wanting to go for more in life is that they look for a way to earn more.
Okay.
But first and foremost, you need to find how to make your own money have value.
Okay.
And it has to do with money history. How are you managing what you have? How are you maximizing what you have? The same 10,000 that you used to kill one thing can kill three things. So if you are not grounded in this structure, you will find yourself always chasing after shadows.
Okay.
So I have this saying where they say where I say that you do not grow. Let me find out. We manage better to have more. We don't manage more when we have better.
Okay.
We don't manage better when we have more.
Okay.
It's when you now want to have more, you start managing. Then you realize that this 10,000 can do more than two things, can do more than three things.
So if you are in the automobile, you may not sell as regularly. And if you are selling clothing, for example, you may not sell as regularly. Meaning that people now are dependent and they are concentrating on the really basic things of life, things that sustain you on a day-to-day basis. So businesses should look towards those areas. Is that the suggestion, or do people cut their or restructure their consumption and money management structure in such a way that it addresses needs and not wants?
There was something I was watching recently. It said the Bentleys and the rest, they have very few people, because even the rich are now watching where they put in funds into. So if you're a luxury car seller, like he just mentioned, people might need to begin to look at more consumer-friendly businesses to engage in.
So, David, what of a situation where a man has accumulated those already? Let's say he has 4 cars, you know, and he's found himself in this situation where his income today cannot cover revenue cannot cover expenditure. What does he do?
You have no business. Your liability is much more than your income. You have to ensure that you have, if not one, more than 2 ways that inflow is coming.
Otherwise, you're doomed.
You may not be doomed yet, but you'll be under undue pressure. And the last thing that you need right now is pressure, because your health is at stake.
Okay.
Your sanity is at stake. Your peace of mind is at stake. Your faith is at stake. And your leadership is at stake. You don't want to be leading people when you're under pressure.
Okay.
Pressure that you could have avoided or you can still avoid.
Okay.
So right now is to go back to the drawing board. What can I do without?
Okay.
What don't I need?
Yeah.
How do I spread my money? How many percent goes into my general need? How many percent goes into savings?
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
So who is the rich today and who is the poor?
Truthfully, it looks like the situation has equalized everybody, because no matter who you are today, even if you're a banker, you're a real estate person, you're a mechanic, I think everybody knows that we're going through some time. But for the average person out there, really, you're going to be fine. It's not like these times are going to swallow us up. Let's us even come
Is it a temporary setback?
Yes, let's us even come with a message of hope. You're going to be fine. The only thing is you just have to plan. Because if you don't plan, what's that saying? Lagos State says when you don't plan, you actually plan to fail.
So if you have those 8 cylinders, turbo engines, you have to turn it in.
You have to turn it in.
But is there market? Are there people
that's what I wanted to
buy?
say, because even to find the market for those things, when you try to turn in now, you have to be ready to turn in at a first sale price.
Okay.
Not as much as you thought you would get for it.
If you do a mapping of resources or wealth in Nigeria, you'll find out that top 1% of Nigerians are wealthy people. What would be the major industries from where they derive their wealth? Does this give you a concern? we see top 1% of Nigerians being very wealthy and have a lot of money, while the rest, about 90%, are languishing. But we don't see the industries. We don't see the manufacturing outfits. So for a young person, is that aspirational or should be a major source of concern?
Money is a long game, like she said. I agree with her completely. You'll be fine. But you have to play the long game. You have to come to the point you realize that I may not understand where this nation is going financially. I go out and the reality of the economy doesn't match what I'm seeing from time to time.
There's dissonance, yeah.
Those private jets are still flying every day. Those buildings are going up. Beauty doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Those hotels are packed out.
Even the cost of those buildings.
Going up.
Cost of rent.
And it still doesn't stop.
Yeah.
This cost of rent has gone up as well. So you have got to face your reality. Now, what is my reality? This is how much I earn. This is my liability. I want to survive for the next 3 years. I have XYZ to plan. I would like to attract a certain level of income. What do I need to cut out from what I consume? And I think that's where we all need to start from.
Okay.
What are the easy things to cut out?
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Your priority right now is to be liquid. Because you find places where you need money to come out of the situations. Your health, your family, things that your secondary family. And all this requires you to use money to solve it.
There are different areas an average person can put money by way of investment. So it can be bonds, it can be shares, it can be mutual. So what are these mutual funds, and what or do we still have benefits from looking at those kind of investments? I don't know, what are those bonds? What are those shares? Is it time now to look at the money market or look at other areas of investment if you just must sustain yourself, say, the next 3 years?
Yes, those investment areas are still there. And even though interest is not as huge as it used to be, but they are still there. Today, even if you leave your money just in savings account, interest grows on it, though minimal, but it grows on it. There's fixed deposits, there are commercial papers, there are government bonds. There's still shares. Even though when you invest in shares, you need to have a long-term view, not that you invest today, you reap tomorrow. You can still invest in shares of viable companies.
To what extent do you think wealth can be sustainable? Just the little wealth you have, because wealth is, is relative and comparative. What wealth means to me may be different from you or the other man, depending on the class you find yourself. So what is sustainable wealth, and how can we, build this wealth? How can we make it sustainable in these circumstances?
Okay, one wealth that I will talk about is not even money, it's relationships.
Okay.
Another wealth I'll talk about is information.
Okay.
They are actually amazing channels for you to leverage on your money. They are indeed ways where you can maximize that money that you have by depriving yourself and having a bit of risk, a bit of faith in what it is that you want to invest in.
It's for us to sustain this business, we need revenue to keep trickling in. Meaning that whether it is clientele or a client or customer, it has to be happy.
Yes.
So what are those things we must do today in very difficult circumstances we find ourselves? Whether you're a tailor, whether you're a makeup artist, whether you are whatever business you are doing. And I'm talking about the small businesses listening out there. What are those basic things you need to do today to ensure that this clientele, the client and the customer is happy and will continue to spend on these goods and services so that your revenue will keep trickling in?
So one thing, compound interest is a global phenomenon. You cannot understand how this works. When the person said that you are talking about investment, but you have to survive first before you invest, because we talk about investment from a very big perception that until you have this much chunk of this much zeros, first, culture of saving. My fundamental when I talk about money is first, your history. You cannot talk about culture of saving if you don't understand your own money history.
What do you mean by money history?
Put your expenditure on an Excel, or forget Excel. Buy on paper.
Okay.
Where does my money go? Is it food? Is it transportation? Is it benevolence? Because if you don't plan your money, people will plan your money for you. And you find that by the end of 30 days, you're not like, how did I spend this money? Another thing, get out of debt. You cannot be in paid employment. And before payday, as payday is dropping, you are going to payday loan to take another one again because you have expanded your base. So first, get out of debt. As small as possible, take one step after each other to get out of debt as much as possible. Debt is not good for you except you're using to generate wealth. Debt is a vehicle to make money. But if you are not using wealth to do business, why are you? If you're not using debt to do business, why are you in debt?
One area that I think Nigerians are, majority are guilty of, they think that planning is a rocket science thing. When you mention the Excel sheet, you mention prognosis and planning, people think it's not for me, it's for multinationals, it's for corporate.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Imagine a situation where a man and his wife, their income put together is 1 million. The man earns 600 and the wife 400. But their expenditure is 2 million or 3. So do you see a lot of, maybe I'm talking to you now, do you see a lot of those kind of scenarios before now? And is this something we have to actually go back to and do that spreadsheet with pen and paper? Like David said, it doesn't have to be on the computer to say, what are my needs? What are my wants? What am I spending money on? And where is this my revenue? And when I talk revenue, not revenue of hope. You do one contract in 3 years, you think that is revenue. It's sustainability, something sustainable. So is that where families and individuals should go back to?
True. Yes, we have to go back to simplifying our lives.
Okay.
Like you said, planning. You have to plan, and planning is not too difficult. We can break it down in a simple way that we can understand. Even from us being Christians, it brings a practical way for you to plan. As a Christian, normally when you earn, you're expected to bring 10% back to God as tithe. If you bring 10% back to God as tithe, and you can do another 10% aside as savings, that's a simple way to plan. You still have a huge chunk of 80% if you look at it from this simple place. If this 10% you take now, you put in a trust fund, maybe in your child's name, you have something growing. Like you said, between man and wife, you only have 1 million between you. So your life you have to simplify your life so that you can constantly enjoy it.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
There are a lot of middlemen in our space, Mimi. And when I mean middlemen, I mean people who stand between you and the end game in most businesses. So now that things are difficult, if you're in the business of middlemanship, if I can use that, are you in danger?
You have to become your own middleman, is that what you're saying?
So how do you do that? So because you know what I mean by middleman. Somebody. I mean, in the real estate, why a consultant is not a middleman? I think he's even in the upstream conversation. Is in the sense that you go to a consultant to understand the space you want to go in, and then after understanding the space, you understand the market. After understanding the market, he can even help you define the product that will give you sustainability if you produce well and sell well. So consultant for me is upstream. But the middleman he takes from this and takes from bring you together and take agency fee.
Yeah.
So where is the place of the middleman in this very difficult economic situation?
A lot of the businesses that we do in this country is middleman businesses.
That's why I went there.
I know you.
Yes.
And I know that you are looking for XYZ. I know
just connect here.
And I know that he has XYZ. Pay me XYZ. This is my cut. And you do business. And I think that the middleman structure is a huge chunk of business transaction in Nigeria as we speak.
So I think it's in danger. If it is not well refined, if you're a middleman out there and your value proposition is not well refined, I think you're in danger.
I do not think that is so much in danger. I may differ slightly because what makes a middleman is information.
The same way that these days we say that AI is going to take over the business that the marketing or the salesperson is doing, say for the bank. They are also threatened. That middleman is also threatened because when you talk about information, people now know how to get their information themselves. And truthfully, the middleman is the person who knows the owner and knows the person who wants the thing. Yeah. So if you want to knock out the middleman, you find a way to know your owner, right? The middleman is taken out of the picture because truthfully, the middleman is neither owner, no. So why should he be paid for something that you can get if you don't use the middleman. So with information at people's fingertips these days, the middleman is threatened, and you can easily knock out your middleman because money is not so much at the tip of our fingers anymore.
True. So resources are tight. The money and funds, is not inelastic anymore. So it's up for debate. But if you are a middleman and you don't bring something special to that practice, and when I mean special, it must have some backing, whether it is scientific that gives you differentiation. Then I think if it is just something any other person can do, then you are in danger. And the real estate comes to mind, isn't it? Why you talked about an office space. If I were to get an office space, I wouldn't go for, if I were to set up a business, my first thinking wouldn't be an office space. My first thinking would be the customer. The other thinking would be the product or service before I begin to talk of office space. Because today, even with technology, now that we've gone digital, how much of office space really should be a priority?
What's happening in the office?
So it's a conversation we need to have. The issue is that if you don't invest, you don't have a future. You can't grow if you don't invest. However, what investment means to you today has to be properly defined, and it has to move away from how we knew investment when we had a lot of opportunity for money that was sloshing all over the place, and when we are generally jollophing. So David, investment process and mistake reactions. This is one of them. So you are saying that we have to be more careful. Yeah. Those things you invest in must have shorter turnaround time, isn't it? And then it must be something you can pull out to address the needs you have, if those needs come up as we trudge along. So. Mimi, this is for you, and it's outside money matter, but the person is throwing the question. He's saying, out of the limelight, he's saying shareholders should be wary of any company whose CEO is portrayed in the media as a business celebrity. Why? Effect of a superstar CEO and award-winning CEO on versus non-superstar CEO is on the rise. What does it benefit a company when the CEO is a superstar?
It's a kind of investment that the person has to be wary of. When we talk investment, there are risks also in investment. Like the person has asked, the CEO is bling bling in the social media, because social media is a thing that everybody is crazy about now. But you have to be careful because truthfully, that's the definition of the CEOs we see these days. Float one fintech. In the next 2 years, that fintech is gone and the CEO is out of town. So we need to be careful with those. When I was talking about investment in shares, I mentioned companies that we know have been around for long, have solid structure, we know where they started from, we know where they are today. So let's be careful with those bling bling. I know we all want to bling and we want to be in the most talked about things these days. But truthfully, like the person has, caution has to be applied. When you, just like those money things, we had the MFM, those things trend. Yes, those things trend. But truthfully, this is not the time for you to find yourself put money in any of those places.
So David, in today, like we say on the street, you have to shine your eye.
Well, I mean, like I said, something with my partner. Money aside, one of the most important things is the people.
Okay.
When people come to us with money matters, what you are investing is in the person.
Okay.
So if you see a CEO and you have funny feelings about the person, you probably might want to think twice, because that person that you have a funny feeling is the architect of what you're investing in. His thought process, his persona, what is priority to him is how he's going to invest or run his business. So if you have a funny feeling about it, it may just mean that you should chill.
Please, your proverb for the week. Who amongst you will give me proverb for the week and then music for the week?
Music. I'll give music.
David will give me. What's the music for the week, David?
Nina Simone.
Okay, producer will have that. And what's your proverb for the week, Mimi?
My proverb for the week, I'd like to say it in pidgin English.
Yeah, sure.
Or the best way to say it,
Just go ahead with pidgin.
There are many ways to kill a snake, right? And it's only when a fly perches on your scrotum that you know that all things don't require violence.
Okay. So when a fly perches on the scrotum, you realize that not all the times that you require violence as a solution, isn't it?
Yes.
So you need to be creative when that fly perches on the scrotum.
You need to be creative.
Okay.
You need to look for other diplomatic ways to solve
things. You need
things.
to negotiate with the flies.
Mm-hmm. You need to be calm.
Thank you very much out there. This has been Money Matter today on the Discourse.
And that's it on the Discourse with Dr. Ken.